Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. And if it's your first time here, howdy. So today, going to be talking about a knife, a free knife that the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation sent me because I made a additional contribution to their foundation. Back in December, I received a letter in the mail asking if I would make an additional donation. Not including my yearly membership donation. And when you did so, they sent you a free hat and a free knife. So I went ahead and did it. Donated 25 bucks, and I just got this knife and hat last week. So it's been a couple months, and it finally rolled in. When I got the package and I opened it up, it had a little note inside basically saying, hey, the knife that you originally thought you were going to get, which was supposed to be orange handled, they didn't meet our quality standards, and we decided to get these other knives instead to give you a little bit, and it does say a little bit of a higher quality knife. So, hey, I appreciate that. And I don't mind the military green, olive drab green handle colors. Although I was looking forward to the orange handle knife just because I don't, other than some game processing knives that I have, which ironically enough came from the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation like many years ago when I first became a member, and they sent you those, and I used the hell out of those outdoor edge knives. They're orange handled, but anyway, this one is not. This one is green handled, and we're going to talk about it a little bit. So my initial impressions when I first opened up the package and I took this knife out was, yep, this is certainly a free knife and a knife that I can see why they have no problem sending to you, even if you make only a $15 donation. But, I'm not a gun or not a gun snob. I'm not a gun snob, but I'm not a knife snob either. I love gear. I love equipment. And in my opinion, a man just can't have, or a woman just can't have too many knives. And, what's cool about a little, cheap knife like this is, they're fun just to kind of use them and mess around with them to see what they can do. But, you can throw it in a pack as an extra knife. You can give it to a friend. You could always give it away as a gift. Maybe if you have a son or a daughter who's starting to get to the age to where they can have a real knife, and you're teaching them, it'd be a great knife, kind of a beater knife. To me, there's always a use for a cheap or a low budget knife like this. I like to have redundancies and extras, so toss them in a pack and it's there. If for some reason I lose or don't have my EDC knife, hey, I've got a little backup until I can, get back to my everyday carry knife or keep it in the center console of the vehicle. Whatever, you just never know. I've been hunting or fishing or camping many times, and a friend or someone doesn't either have a knife or they forgot their knife or something like that. It's to me a big no-no to go into the outdoors or into life without a pocket knife, but I digress. So upon opening the knife, right away you feel that it's got pretty cheap injection molded, most likely. I would say they're ABS plastic grips. They're not micarta. They've got a pretty rad, sick design on there, bro. It's not bad. I've got pretty big hands. It fills my hand pretty well. It's kind of comfortable. You can see that it's got a finger choil there. It's a liner lock knife. One of the first things that I noticed about it, as far as like comfortability, if you were going to use this knife for feather sticking, wood carving, even just general use around the camp where you're getting in and out of your pocket a lot. If you notice the liner lock, it goes above the grips, and it's got actually pretty aggressive jimping on it for being jimping on the liner lock. A lot of my knives do have jimping on the liner lock, but they're much more subdued jimping on the liner lock part, and the liner lock doesn't protrude above the handle like it does here on this particular knife. And what do you expect? If I were to pay for this knife, like at the Harbor Freight bargain bin or something like that, I mean, you might pay like, I would think maybe no more than $5 for this knife, $7.99, something like that. So for, you know, what I would consider a sub $10 knife, I'm not expecting them to be masters of ergonomics when they made this knife, right? They're just pumping these things out for the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation to give away as a gift. But that honestly is one of the probably the biggest problem with this knife is that, and that's quite uncomfortable. I mean, it just really is. Now it does have jimping on like the bottom quarter of the spine of the blade there. It's got some jimping, and then that jimping extends a little bit onto the top of the grips as well. And actually, I find that jimping to be pretty well placed to where I was going to, you know, if I was going to, like I said, use this knife to feather stick or carve or something like that. I find that jimping to be actually pretty well thought out for a really cheap knife. You know, the jimping on the finger inside the finger choil there on the liner lock release, you know, a little bit of jimping there would have been fine, but it's just really aggressive jimping. You know, it's a hollow ground blade. Who knows what the, you know, mystery steel is that it's made out of, SV23 Chinesium. You know, it's not very sharp out of the box, but I have a feeling you could very easily put a really keen edge on this knife just based off the type of steel that it feels like. How well it would hold that edge, I don't know. How well the edge would hold up to abuse, I don't know. Would I baton with this knife? No, I wouldn't baton with it. Well, maybe I would baton with it because it was cheap and it was free, so why not? But if it was the only knife I had and I found myself in a little bit of a sticky situation in the woods, you know, I probably would avoid too much abuse on this thing. So, like I said, liner lock. One thing that I will give them credit for, even though it's really reflective and shiny, the pocket clip is surprisingly robust. You know, with like cheap flashlights and cheap knives, a lot of times the pocket clips are just junk, and you get it hung up on your seatbelt or something like that one time, and it, you know, gets stretched out and it's springy, and you can never get it back to the way it was, and it no longer really has any retention. I tell you, this belt clip to me feels like it would stand the test of time and really retain and fit nicely into your pocket. It's, you know, the belt clip's up nice and high, so it's going to ride nice and deep in your pocket. You're not really going to see the top of the knife sticking out. It's got a thumb hole for opening. You know, you can one hand this knife, no problem. It's nice and light. You can do the old flickaroo on it, and you can do the old wrist flick to open it up if you wanted to try to be cool and be fancy. It's got a hole for a lanyard, but, you know, look, overall, really not a bad little knife for, you know, making an extra donation to a really great cause. And I'm not going to hold the fact that, you know, I'm not going to hold it against the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation that this is a little bit of a cheap knife. Now, they're saying that this is a higher quality knife than the one that they were originally going to send out. And I would hate to see what that knife was like because, you know, while this isn't a bad little knife for what it is, that other knife must have been really something if this is considered higher quality. Now, they did say a little bit higher quality. So I'll give them that. But all right, guys. So what do you think? What do you think about my free knife? Getting some glare here on the blade today, but that's okay. I think you guys get the idea. Oh, and one other thing that I was surprised about this knife: every single knife that I have that I purchase, it has to pass the wiggle test. Okay, the wiggle test, which means I grip it high up on the handle and the grips, and I give it the old left to right wiggle and the back and forth wiggle, and I'm looking for play. And this knife, the lockup, once it's open, is surprisingly strong and surprisingly solid. Left to right, there's basically no wiggle at all. I don't know how that would hold up under use. You'd probably have to tighten it back down, I would imagine. And back and forth, you know, there's a tiny bit, but it's, you know, for such a cheap little budget knife, I don't think it's unacceptable at all. So there is that. All right. Well, that's all I got on this one, guys. Coming up next on my next video, I'm going to review a sub $10 knife that I got off of Amazon. Master USA! And we're going to see if this particular knife, which I have not opened yet, has the potential to be a really good EDC knife for sub $10. All right. Appreciate you guys being here. Please hit the, that thing and the sub thing and all that. That would be really greatly appreciated to get the channel to grow, and share the video if you enjoyed it. And until the next time, I'll see you on the honey. Until the next time, I will see you on the happy hunting grounds.